A lot of new materials and products including building blocks can be made from waste. There is so much waste in every industry to cover the entire globe. Most of these can be very valuable when they're converted into useful materials for construction, which is very resource intensive. Building blocks for construction can be made from a composite of waste to replace concrete. Consists of sand, gravel, other aggregates and cement. Concrete is the most used resource after water. It causes devastation in riverbeds, ocean floor, beaches and other areas that contain sand used in concrete production. Sand is a non-renewable resource, and the demand for concrete is skyrocketing as a result of population growth. Concrete must be replaced with waste materials to construct all kinds of buildings. Some countries started using timber from sustainably managed forests and plantations to ditch concrete. Concrete creates cities with water runoff and heat island effect. Water isn't absorbed like the soil. Concrete jungles cause flooding. Concrete can be replaced with durable plant-based or waste blocks that can either absorb water or transfer it to the soil. That way, rainwater won't run off like in concrete jungles. It will get soaked in by the surrounding soil. Concrete isn't a sustainable building material by any means. New alternatives must be invented to eliminate it soon. Most cities are overgrown with concrete. They aren't green or climate positive. They're tormented with heat waves, flooding, pollution and other issues. Some companies started using glass waste and other types of waste to make concrete. Every country can get rid of concrete to be able to reach net zero and build more sustainable, greener cities. Concrete is a major concern in concepts of sustainability. There is a tremendous amount of crop waste that can be turned into building bricks like hemp blocks. A lot of companies are making plastic replacements, cutlery, packaging from food waste, crop waste and plants. This can be scaled up to make the construction materials to supply the world. Construction has been using tons of resources that ruin water areas and ecosystems every year. There is so much crop waste and food waste to be turned into anything like plastics and packaging. Hemp is a great crop to make plant bricks. They're durable, fire-resistant and more sustainable than concrete or timber. Companies and manufacturers are realizing that almost anything can be made from plants and waste without using destructive, toxic materials harming the environment. Energy grid is required to get updated to handle the renewable and green energy growth and retrofitting. The energy grid will cover up the entire world one day. Every country will generate tons of green and clean energy from renewable sources to transfer it to the global grid. The grid can recharge and transmit electricity wirelessly, which would be similar to the 5G networks. 5G is having wider coverage around the world. Electricity can be transmitted just like strong 5G signals. If an electronic device and smartphone can receive strong 5G signals anywhere, they can be charged with wirelessly electricity from grid towers. This would relieve and upgrade the grid networks to their next level of infrastructure. Green infrastructure has to end. Green energy sources will be so abundant to continuously update the energy grids like operating system updates. It would be a lot easier to update a wireless grid network that can encompass the globe than an outdated power grid consist of transmission lines. Energy is the most significant aspect of civilization. Everything is changing to address the catastrophic changes like climate and environmental decline. This is the most important time in human history. The shift to the green infrastructure has to be adopted worldwide. There are various technologies and systems that can generate so much energy from renewable sources. An ocean battery and other energy systems harnessing the power of oceans and waves are being developed. Oceans can be geared to provide a tremendous amount of clean and renewable energy. Oceans can also sequester millions of times more carbon and cool down the planet more than forest and climate-based technologies. The planet comprises 2/3 oceans. Oceans have so much power. They can be utilized as green production zones when various water plants like seaweed, kelp, algae, and other seawater crops are grown and farmed. Ocean farming at a global scale can capture tons of carbon and provide many new natural resources, materials, foods, biofuels and feedstock. This is how powerful oceans are. Ocean-based energy and battery systems can support the energy grid that can transfer energy wirelessly worldwide and charge anything faster than outlets and charging stations. The wireless electricity had been invented years ago. It can be introduced to power the globe with clean energy. Transportation systems can continuously recharge while on the road without stopping at plug-in charging stations. A lot of cars include regenerative braking. This combined with wireless can make transportation limitless. Clean energies harnessing the power of oceans can be more efficient. Coastal areas will include many of these ocean energy systems to power the grid. A lot of countries started cooperating to share the renewable energy they've generated via undersea cables. Soon, energy from space and electricity to power anything will be transmitted wirelessly. Large solar cells in space can generate so much energy, and this can be sent back to Earth with concentrated microwaves. Every building and facility where manufacturing and business are conducted will be an energy generator. Some of them can also produce so many things with integrated green productions. Every heat generator can also be an energy generator when thermoelectrical devices are attached. Scientists have already invented these thin devices that can attach to energy surface and engine, as well as buildings. In addition to that, solar thermal panels and surfaces can be more efficient than conventional photovoltaics. There is so much heat to be harvested as energy, not just the sunlight. Sunlight is reflecting off the earth and every surface to generate a tremendous amount of heat. Most of the energy used in the world is actually heating from chemical combustion. Thermoelectric devices will turn any heat generator like engines, turbines, industrial facilities, even heating of entire cities into an electricity generator. Inside dense, concrete cities, there is an enormous amount of heat being reflected back into the environment. Thermophotovoltaic energy conversion is a direct conversion of heat to electricity via photons. It's the process of converting infrared wavelengths of light coming from a heat source into electricity, using essentially the same process found in normal photovoltaic cells. Some new systems use the excess electricity from renewable energy sources to power up a very large heating element, which heats tin into a molten state that can be pumped around a closed-loop system. The superhot liquid metal travels through a network of carbon composite pipes into a sealed and insulated warehouse containing massive blocks of graphite. Superhot pipes radiate heat into the graphite blocks. They stay hot for a very long time. This makes up a very large-scale thermal energy storage facility. Renewable energy can be located in any area, and this very large thermal energy storage can store the excess electricity for a long time, supporting the grid and entire cities. Whenever there is a power demand from the grid, the heat from the graphite blocks is transferred into a second warehouse filled with argon like the previous building. It contains an array of large hollow rectangular carbon-based chambers, lined with tungsten foil. Tungsten foil glows white hot as it heats up, exactly like the filament in an incandescent light bulb. The thermophotovoltaic cells sit inside these chambers as a power block, exposing their surface to the light. Light-capturing material is gallium arsenide, which is used for solar panels in space. It's capable of coping with the high-intensity light produced by the tungsten power blocks. These cells capture light in the visible and invisible infrared light in the electromagnetic spectrum. This can be one of the best and most efficient energy storage options that's being developed at this time. Lithium-ion energy storage is expensive, and cells break down after a while. This carbon-based, thermophotovoltaic energy storage system is cheaper to make, and it can be modified and increased in size. Solar thermal and thermophotovoltaics will revolutionize the energy grid, provide the best energy generation and storage. A solarpunk future and green infrastructure to stabilize climate and reverse environmental decline, as well as all kinds of deforestation, require all kinds of renewables and energy storage systems working simultaneously. Cities and the global infrastructure can soak in millions of tons of carbon every year like a sponge. This is how they need to be designed and remodeled from now on. Researchers have experimented on hotter climate models inside closed chambers. The hotter the climate gets, it has a more devastating impact over the environment, vegetation, and all living beings. The planet cannot get hotter than it is. This is the tipping point. Some areas are still plagued by destructive industries and agriculture that burn down very large areas of forests. Forest cover in all regions have to augment every year, not shrink in size as a result of intentional burning. This foolishness greatly affects all other regions and contributing to climate change as much as other emitting sources. In less than a century, the predictions show that the entire world will be an apocalyptic zone consist of many uninhabitable regions. This will make it impossible to reverse the crises that are occurring now and will only intensify. Luckily, renewable energy is getting cheaper than in the past. MOS manufacturing their modules and components are faster and more efficient to supply the global demand of renewable energy and retrofitting. Solutions for low-carbon production of cement, electronics, steel, and innovations like artificial meat, carbon capture are in the works. The more of these technologies deployed, the cheaper and better new technologies get. The cheaper they get, more people use them. New climate innovations, green technologies and climate solutions are going to be the liquid gold of the new industrial era. The domestic CO2 output of rich countries are falling without a major recession. The emissions are no longer necessarily coupled with economic growth. In the past, to get richer, you had to emit more. Now, you have to emit less and remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere naturally and industrially to get richer. Economic degrowth is still necessary to build a more sustainable civilization encompassing the globe. Ever-growing economies and industries will never be sustainable. You can see this happening in the Amazon rainforest. Destructive agriculture practices are ruining this extremely diverse and rich forest. Countries can reduce their emissions by investing in less developed countries that can implement various renewable sources and transmit them via new grid networks. This would increase the livability and climate compatibility of all nations, connecting them in many ways. With the development of carbon capture and utilization, many new products, plastic alternatives, alternative fuels, chemicals used in all industries and businesses are being made and invented. This is the ultimate direction for every nation to pursue. Technology will not magically solve everything. Nations need to use fewer resources, use them longer, and invest in environmental abundance. Consumer goods must be repairable, durable, and decrease the energy requirements. Nations have to set their practical goals for net zero and extreme environmental friendliness at all levels of society. Captured carbon and greenhouse gases can be some of the greatest resources to make many things over and over again. Of course, emissions have to minimize globally. Entire cities filled with concrete can be regenerated as forest gardens. A diverse planting of plants on every structure and level of city, attempting to mimic ecosystems and patterns found in nature, can make this a reality in cities. These garden cities aim to be three-dimensional, with life extending up, down and out in all directions. Food forests rooted in permaculture principles can also be inserted in and out of metropolitan areas. New city greening designs integrate park space, buildings, resources, people, the environment and businesses through naturally beneficial synergies, imitating the diverse, harmonious, stable, resilient, no-waste, closed-loop systems seen in nature. New city designs work with nature, rather than against it. The Amazon, called the lungs of the earth, has been carefully cultivated by indigenous people for millennia. Now, cities can be cultivated as garden and forest layers with all kinds of green energy and plant, tree species. Some of these practices have been experimented in some eco-conscious cities, and they worked pretty well. Rainwater, low maintenance were adequate for maintaining greener cities and buildings. A green sponge infrastructure incorporated into every building can utilize rainwater, recycle it or direct it to the ground. Greener areas tend to attract more rainfall, and they don't flood as much as zones paved with concrete. The benefits of green sponge cities, once they've been established, are endless. They can sequester carbon, cool the climate, prevent flooding and heat waves, provide sustainable resources for the people and animals, develop resilience, provide beauty and tranquility, enrich the environment, produce an abundance of renewable resources inside cities, generate energy and so much more. Scientists, researchers, engineers, innovators and a broader community can develop more efficient solutions and technologies inside these new sponge city cores. The notion of Solarpunk integrated into green sponge cities can empower action and innovation to build resilience and solutions amid climate crises. Millions of people are moving and will move from rural areas to cities in the next decades. Cities have to become vertical forests and gardens to be sustainable, green and climate positive. Denser, taller cities aren't necessarily sustainable by any means unless they incorporate green productions and lush vegetation to every layer. Vertical green structures in every city and metropolitan area will have housing, office space, entertainment, gardens, park space, atriums, wind turbines, vertical parks, solar windows, rooftop solar, vertical farming and so much more while green innovation is being introduced to the world. This is how cities will be constructed and grow from now on. This way, they can minimize air pollution, waste, unsustainable growth and consumption. Cities will be modeled after forest gardens that people can live in symbiosis with. Business will be about growing more regenerative resources, using waste, recycling all, converting carbon into production, generating more clean energy and natural abundance in and out of the perimeter of city centers. Inner skin and outer skin of buildings both spin to generate tons of energy for their own and the surrounding architecture. Large, open sky atriums will be vertical parks that have all the amenities like museums, food, entertainment, gardens, water circulation, climate technologies. Water harvesting system will cover up the top and every side of buildings. Every single drop of water is captured, recycled and filtered. Wind turbines can be installed to every floor and the top to generate energy from high wind flow. Buildings in cities will share different kinds of functions that are connected at all levels. They will be focused on people, natural abundance and green energy, not just consumption. Building vertical forests packed with all kinds of renewables, trees, plants, even useful crops in dense cities is going to be the standard soon. There won't be any waste, air pollution or any pollution or smog in these forest cities at all. Everything will be reused and recycled naturally. Just like in nature, the best technology to combat pollution is trees. Nature works better than all technologies. Every city and business will exist in harmony with the earth, unlike the dystopian futures like Cyberpunk. The green technologies are evolving every year with the dedication and cooperation of many scientists, researchers and engineers. Nature's diversity of solutions are still more effective at every level of society. Global society has to start over, has to reset every sector that it relies upon. Carbon-based solutions and technologies have been tested and proven to be more effective for energy production, synthesis and storage, as well as many other technological and industrial sectors. The design of cities, buildings, even businesses of all types will be merged with technology and biology. Nature is biological, not technological. Humans shouldn't rely on technology to solve all their problems. This isn't sustainable. Nuclear fusion will be in full operation sooner or later. Compact fusion anti-gravity engines can power any type of craft and make them reach faster than light speed by bending space-time around them. This is an exciting breakthrough and can be unrevealed soon. A new technique called projectile fusion to accelerate fuel at 200 times the speed of sound is in development. The technique is inspired by pistol shrimp, which have an oversized claw that can click shut at very high speed. Projectile fusion is more energy efficient, cheaper than traditional approaches to fusion power. This can be the fastest path to commercially viable power generation from fusion. Instead of using complex and expensive lasers or magnets, projectile fusion uses a high-velocity projectile. The new system uses a large two-stage hypervelocity gas gun to launch a 100G projectile at a pellet containing the fusion fuel in the form of tritium, deuterium. The projectile reaches amazing speeds of 14,540 miles per hour before hitting the target. That's about 20 times the speed of sound. As the fuel is hit by the projectile, it accelerates to over 156,586 miles per hour. This is about 200 times the speed of sound, creating a pulse of fusion energy. The fuel becomes the fastest moving object at that point. The energy is absorbed by lithium flowing inside the chamber, heating it up. The flowing liquid protects the chamber from the vast energy release, avoiding many challenges in other fusion systems. A heat exchanger transfers the heat of the lithium to water, generating steam, turning a turbine to produce electricity. Each target pellet can generate enough energy to power an average home for 2 years. Compared to inertial fusion techniques that require expensive lasers and magnets, this new equipment is low cost. Now, energy gain is required in this fusion system, in which more energy is put out than in. New fusion power plants can be built anywhere in the world, more affordable than other nuclear power plants. This will revolutionize the energy sector. Nuclear fusion can be the main source of energy for the globe one day. Compact versions of it can even power all kinds of aerospace and space vessels to bring in space colonization and terraforming to reality. Solarpunk futuristic aesthetics speak for themselves. City models are the most sustainable, green and futuristic versions of civilization as we know of. We can build a very sustainable civilization as of now. The tools, technologies and solutions are all mainstream at this time. People will be surrounded by a good level of technology and at the same time lush greenery in every city around the world. Instead of neon signs and pollution, balconies filled with plant life will be all over the place. Technology must be reimagined in a way that won't harm the earth. Main sources of energy will be solar, wind, geothermal heat, waves and fusion. New sources of energy will be formulated after that. They will all be renewable, including all productions, manufacturing and industrial processes. In Milan, Italy, the Bosco Verticale is a strong example of a solarpunk-type building that exists today. These towers integrate plants in its structure, which help mitigate smog and produce oxygen. Plants protect the building from noise pollution and dust from the city. They also keep the building at a cooler temperature, shading the interiors from the summer, blocking harsh winds in the winter. The building is almost self-sufficient, with the renewable energy from solar panels and filtered water for plant life. This reduces the building's carbon footprint by a massive amount, increases the city's biodiversity of birds and insects. Different technologies like seed bombing and solar ovens are new approaches to current issues. Seed bombing can reforest burned down, cut, logged forest with a variety of plant and tree seeds. Solar ovens don't emit smoke like other ovens do. Nikola Tesla said that, if you want to find out the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency and vibration. Everything is energy. Energy can be harnessed and harvested in so many ways other than what's being used today. Walkable panels are already invented, people walk on them, and they generate energy. Gravity-based energy storage can be one of the best approaches to storing the excess energy from renewables in different ways. Pumped hydro can be installed in between two large lakes or ponds that are either artificial or natural. The water is pumped to the pond in higher elevation when enough energy is generated from renewables. During peak hours, the water runs through turbines to generate energy to support the grid. It's a simple but very efficient system that's been invented years ago. Heat is one of the greatest sources of energy. It's very abundant in today's world as a result of industrial revolutions and mass manufacturing of all kinds of machinery. Heat can be stored inside graphite chambers that are induced by molten metal heated up by renewable energies. Stored heat can be converted into electricity any time of the day via thermoelectric or thermophotovoltaic devices. Pyramid structures can be placed in many places in every continent to store ambient energy and heat and transmit powerful signals to charge any device and power any building and city. This is how civilization can be powered into eternity. Some technologies to achieve this pyramid energy structures are already in development or active. Pyramids and other ancient structures were all giant powerhouses that are built by microprocessor and circuit designs. They could create energy and transfer it to desirable locations and probably spacecraft. Most of the ancient structures were giant circuit boards that could produce so much energy via magnetism, sound, other ambient sources. Solarpunk architecture is defined by being sustainable, biofeeling buildings and facilities that are good for the people and the planet. Living buildings will be the norm soon. Certified living buildings are made of locally sourced wood from protected forests or timber plantations. They include special windows that provide lighting. They recover heat from all sources inside the building. Collected rainwater is used for plumbing, dishes, showers and other uses. Wastewater is treated on site inside treatment tanks. Heating and cooling are all electric. Photovoltaics are installed on the entire roof. The materials, surfaces mimic forest patterns, blending buildings and houses with their surroundings. No hazardous materials or chemicals used in construction. A living building is free of toxic chemicals and runs on net zero energy, producing the same amount or more than it uses. They're designed to be easily disassembled and recycled after their projected 90-year life cycle. The exterior facade can be made with salvaged and repurposed wood. Living buildings are built with primarily cross-laminated timber and glued laminated timber. Sunlight orientation is what directs the positioning of every component of the building to prevent overheating, provide shade in warm months, naturally warming the interior during cold months. Living buildings create environments that optimize physical, psychological health, well-being, restore healthy interrelationship with nature. Unlike most cities, green plant and moss walls aren't just for decoration. They can improve city air in so many ways. They can repel pollutants, even absorb them. Traffic releases tons of pollutants into the air, including tiny particles bad for human health. Plants can remove some of these particles from the city air if a lot of buildings are covered in plant walls. Plants absorb particles through the cells in their leaves like stomata. They perform dry deposition. Particles land on vegetation. They remove them from circulation. Another tool plants have up their leaves is dispersion, where plants act as a physical barrier, so pollutants don't travel straight from cars to people's noses. Instead, they swirl around plant leaves first, float away from people, decreasing exposure. More trees are required to keep cities greener. If there isn't enough space, living green walls over every building can do the trick. This isn't greenwashing. That's a corporate term. This is actually about greening the cities as much as possible to reduce air pollution and heat island effect. Imagine a world where the world is only powered by renewable energy. Humans live in harmony with nature, with each other in extremely sustainable, regenerative cities supported by renewable, green industries. Eventually, technology, buildings, cities and all products can be made from captured carbon and synthesis or plant-based materials. This is how societies evolve and progress into the future to prevent ecological and planetary collapse. Green, renewable energy movement combined with education to build sustainable electronic tech, along with gardening, sustainable building and making, other self-regenerative skills can make the world a better place. Artisans, craftspeople, engineers, scientists and all other people in fields of business and arts can create innovative, regenerative products, tech, energy sources, ecological cities demonstrating wicked cool aesthetics. Stained glass, window solar panels can boost the aesthetics of cities and buildings. Renewable Art Nouveau style technology will excel current short-term, unviable technologies that end up as waste in a short time. Technology combined with renewables will flourish as artwork, jewelry, artsy gadgets, exquisite architecture, New green infrastructure including all energy sources, technologies will enhance the environment and boost sustainability to its highest levels by recycling everything in a loop. Solarpunk cities are some of the most futuristic architecture that enrich their surroundings as much as lush forests. Solar panels placed in dry areas, proven to humidify and condense the air to create precipitation. After that, dry lands can become green and eventually either forests or productive polycultures. This is how renewable energies can regenerate arid lands to address climate change. Guerrilla gardening is going to be mainstream one day. It's actually how people can work with their neighborhoods and vacant lots to grow plants and crops that support their communities. Some districts in large cities are very dry with little or no vegetation. If people can garden vacant lots, sidewalks, backyards, and all other places in every city, empty space can grow as edible gardens and food forests. Struggling communities can follow this path to convert dry and poor areas into thriving communities, including food security and green growth. Urban farming can actually transform every community and city across the world, not just struggling neighborhoods. Plants can be the solution to so many problems around the world. There is actually a type of plant for everything. Some people started gardening on the sidewalks because nobody was maintaining them. In some cities and in their vicinity, there is so much vacant land that can be reclaimed as park space, gardens, even growing for food. People think city parks near their centers are pretty big. Vacant land is so much bigger in space than these parks. Millions of plants and thousands of trees can be planted in unclaimed or vacant space in and near cities. Just like a graffiti artist, where they beautify walls, people can beautify lawns, parkways, front yards, empty space, sidewalks by planting a diversity of plants, herbs and trees. You'd be surprised what a soil could do if you let it be your canvas. Plants are amazing, there is a wide variety of them. Some climate activists started cloning the largest trees in the world, which are called redwood trees. They grow as tall as a skyscraper, even taller. They can sequester the most carbon, compared to all other species, inside their trunks. Not only that, but they keep growing for hundreds of years. Cloning and planting one of these redwood trees can offset the total emissions in your lifetime. Some tree nurseries in many states can clone and transplant redwood trees and species similar to them that grow the biggest as another solution to climate change. When more people plant and garden inside urban areas and city centers, these cities will grow greener than ever before. This is one of the best educations and activities for every person in every city, regardless of the size. It can transform every community from the ground up. To change the community, you have to change the composition of the soil. People are planters, gardeners, just like many other animals that contribute to nature with their presence and activity. Gardening is the most therapeutic and defined act you can do, especially in the inner city, plus you build up cities to be more like forests. It would be a great activity and occupation for poor people to regreen cities, do landscaping and grow as many trees, flowers and plants, as well as urban gardens. There are many real-life solarpunk buildings across the globe. There will be many more of them being built soon, since that can be one of the ways to reach net zero. Solar glass and garden-filled buildings will merge human civilization and nature into one. In addition to that, libraries to educate people in all subjects including transformation of cities and industries into their greenest phase will be widespread. Glass libraries, containing a wide variety of books in their repositories, will also include botanical gardens on their roofs or inside their glasshouses. Roof gardens will be very common for all types of buildings and services. Roof gardens will be watered by cascading streams trickling down water from plant staircase. Urban farms can flourish inside every office space, allowing employees to grow and harvest edible plants. This would increase productivity and happiness in every office. Rooftop bars and cafes can serve farm-to-table harvested from vertical and in-building gardens. Some companies encourage finding urban farmers and educating them, so more people can grow gardens and plant inside buildings, office space, rooftops and in urban centers. This means that farmers markets will be included inside a lot of buildings and businesses. More people will learn how to grow a wide variety of useful crops inside city centers. This will encourage active engagement through a visual intervention, also educational programs about farming methods and practices. Buildings' facades feature seasonal flowers and fruit trees planted within deep balconies. These plants create lush green walls, offer beautiful views to the public. Balconies filled with plants help shade and insulate the interiors while providing fresh air with operable windows. They reduce heating and cooling loads during moderate climate. Plants and trees inside and on the balconies of buildings create the perfect microclimate in every season, thereby diminishing the rise and fall of temperature. Buildings can be steel but still incorporate many plants to look like forests. Sustainable communities. Coined eco-villages are centers of experimental architecture that create the changes towards a solarpunk future. The changes that these grassroots initiatives are making can be used as inspiration for every community and city. Some communities designed using permaculture principles can peacefully share the land between humans and wildlife. New eco-villages can foster agriculture, forestry, recreation and habitat projects as well as renewable energy. During design stages, basic objectives are agreed upon such as clean air, water and soil, freedom of belief, meaningful activity for all, healthy, safe play and recreation, active social interaction, healthy accommodation. Everything from the building to water supplies is built on sustainable land use principles that include solar energy. These communities and cities are dedicated to caring for the earth by learning, living and demonstrating a holistic sustainable culture. Creating villages and cities which are living laboratories, seed, plant banks for the future can teach other world cities how to improve. Permaculture is one set of principles to design eco-conscious cities and villages. The core of permaculture design is the belief that all living beings and systems have intrinsic worth, that human life is inextricably embedded in the web of life, which is the earth. Using these principles, passive solar-heated buildings of natural earth-friendly materials and clean energy farms are constructed. Much of the wilderness can be preserved with sustainably managed forestry that plants and restores more than harvested. Layers of soil surrounding the eco-villages and cities can be regenerated with organic biomass. Principles of sustainability must be taught in education centers in every city to contribute to ecological sustainability, rather than climate change and environmental decline. Many eco-communities and cities include vast play space consist of many trees, and many ponds. Community gardens, augmented park space, hiking trails, energy-efficient housing are common in eco-villages to improve the well-being of people and animals. The key sustainable lifestyle features of eco-villages are green building, energy efficiency, renewable energy. All buildings are passive solar, super-insulated, demonstrate passive house standards which typically reduce energy use by 90%. Most of the landscape is set aside for natural areas, organic farming, wildlife habitats. Residents and employees compost all kitchen scraps, cut their need for garbage services by 75%. Most of the surrounding land is preserved for meadows, ponds, forests. Business, city, home, corporate and global sustainability can be included in every school, college and university with robust educational programs and degrees. Some of these programs comprise climate solutions that are technological, industrial, related to city planning, building design and natural improvements. Greenhouses, forests of native species, forests for timber and fruit trees, orchards, irrigation network supplement the villages with food and other amenities. New types of foams made of waste, plastics and organic materials can be used to insulate and even construct a part of every building inside eco-villages. Smaller, compact wind turbines can supply more of buildings and houses' electricity needs when they're installed in places that solar panels or other energy systems cannot fit. Ecologically engineered sewage treatment plants can purify wastewater with aerobic and anaerobic reactors, also constructed wetlands that remove the sludge. These treatment plants are installed inside greenhouses in a series of tanks. Bacteria, algae, microorganisms, numerous species of plants and trees interact as whole microbiological habitats in these trunks and biofilters. These processes occur in the natural world, but do so more intensely inside biotanks. The filtered water is recycled and reused many times, or used to irrigate plants and crops. Eco-city networks are dedicated to living sustainable plus lives by restoring the land, adding more to the environment than is taken. Cities will aim to offset their carbon footprint and become self-sufficient with green infrastructure and productions. Eco-villages and cities will be mainstream soon because they're the closest strategy to net zero and extreme sustainability. Cities are changing to conform to new rules enacted to achieve net zero and offset emissions worldwide. When the most successful eco-city is built or retrofitted completely, it will be replicated in other regions or demonstrate the performance. Civilization will collapse through resource exploitation as a result of climate change. Ecosystems around the world will be decimated in less than a century. Up until 1950, 75% of the Earth's population lived in self-sustaining, small communities. By 2050, 75% of nearly 10 billion people will be living in crowded, coastal megacities. This will definitely lead to disaster. The doomsday clock is the environment. Small or mid-size eco-cities consist of energy-positive buildings, offices, businesses and homes on microgrids. Balancing the power will be more common. Clean energy and waste-to-resource management and other fundamentals will be critical to building many new eco-cities worldwide, so people can build them and move out of overgrowing, polluted cities. Regenerative, green cities are going to be more innovative than tech companies. High-yield organic food production, renewables, resource and material recycling will be the foundation of ecological city regeneration, not construction and consumption. Everything that's made and manufactured will be collected when they're used and discarded. This way, companies will collect all the precious resources, materials and components to make all kinds of new products with zero waste. This is what's required to eliminate waste and pollution altogether. A regenerative platform will manage green cities that are newly built or retrofitted with climate technologies. Biomimicry will be used in cities, in manufacturing and business models, to mimic what the Earth has perfected for 4-5 billion years. Houses and businesses can be enveloped inside large greenhouses. You can have a cup of coffee in the greenhouse in the middle of the coldest winter. This is how greenhouses work during cold months. They can house all kinds of plants, also protect houses and businesses from harsh climate. Inside regenerative cities, you live and work within nature, not separate from it. Everything in every star system, including this solar system, revolves around its central sun. For this reason, sun is always the biggest energy source and its magnetism can be harnessed as power as well. Solarpunk future depends on the sun in every possible way. All nature is powered by the sun that emanates its light particles to celestial bodies around it. Eventually, with the evolution of robotic technology, all kinds of intelligent robots as skillful and ingenious as human beings will power themselves with solar energy being reflected over the Earth during the day. Smart grids will collect all the solar power and store it chemically, mechanically, biologically and other possible ways to power any device and architecture constantly. All the solar power can be collected and stored worldwide during daytime hours, which is actually constant in many regions around the world. That means there is infinite energy to be collected, stored and reused being transmitted to the Earth to power anything. Energy storage and solar power are being upgraded every year. They will be more affordable and more efficient each passing year. If every large city and factory are powered completely by solar, resource depletion will still be one of the biggest issues. Unfortunately, no resource is infinite. Harvesting natural resources to make countless products is never going to be sustainable, regardless of what type of energy is used. There is also so much carbon and greenhouse gases that can be harvested as a resource, which is almost infinite if they can be converted into useful materials and products. That's why nations are supposed to learn and research how to harvest pollution-causing elements and turn them into a resource instead of overusing and misusing precious, fragile, finite natural resources. There aren't enough natural resources to supply an ever-growing population. The world's most populated areas have been causing mass deforestation in other regions and all kinds of pollution. It looks nice to visit the largest cities with futuristic architecture, but they've been consuming most of the resources compared to smaller, more sustainable cities. The world's economy must continuously shrink to replenish natural resources and the natural environment to their richest state. Burning of anything must be proscribed to prevent carbon emissions and to start build a society based on renewables derived from innovation. Architecture promotes communities, sustainability, inclusivity and solarpunk infrastructure that can encompass the world if it's subsidized. Instead of using polluting energy sources and production methods, algae can be used for energy production and to manufacture all kinds of things. Just like other plants and organisms, it's very versatile and fast-growing. If these organisms are grown in large farms and tanks, they can be harvested as one of the greatest resources by absorbing so much carbon from the atmosphere. The global architecture will incorporate algae in so many ways as a resource. There is a wide variety of plants to incorporate into architecture to make cities, hopefully carbon negative and self-growing one day. Plants and nature had been using the power of the sun for millions of years. Now this process can be scaled up globally. Technology will make use of solar increasingly. Matter of fact, there are new cars that are covered in solar cells to generate more power than they need. They don't require too much power to run because they're more compact with smaller engines. Solar energy has been converted into chemical energy with the research and experiments done by many scientists. This abundant energy source can be converted into biofuels and chemicals via new conversion processes. This way, anything can be powered with solar fuels and chemicals instead of fossil fuels. Besides, merging solar with tree structure allows for more solar power to be used without taking up more floor space on the ground as structures reach out and branch out. Eventually, every building and facility will be able to produce its own solar fuel by converting solar energy into chemicals. These processes will be easier to execute with constant research and experimentation. Parking lots in cities get too hot during the summer. Solar canopies over every parking lot can prevent overheating in parking lots. They can also generate so much energy for the grid. Depending on the design of solar trees, they can provide a more sci-fi-like, futuristic landscape, also light up at night. Solar trees are popping up everywhere. The best designs generate energy, harvest rainwater, condense humidity into water, light up colorfully, work as cooling ducts. They can also draw up air, send it upwards, creating a breeze at ground level. The most versatile super solar trees are connected with skywalks. This is how cities inside a garden are created by incorporating solar at all levels of architecture and design. Solar panels with robotics follow the sun throughout the day, just like sunflowers do. Solar flowers with built-in robotics fold out and follow the sun's path to generate 40% more power than other solar panels that sit still. At the end of the day, it folds up and cleans itself, ready for the next day. Drones recharged by solar panels can continually grab seed bombs and drop them for reforestation projects in many remote regions tormented with deforestation, wildfires. Solar panels can be placed anywhere and charge automated drones that can get a hold of and drop seed balls. Drones fitted with solar panels can stay flying for months. Robotics will be powered by renewable energy farms to continuously carry out necessary tasks and environmental projects like reforestation that people aren't able of. By introducing countless species of plants and trees to deforested and dying areas, they can create richer and more diverse forests than before. Floating solar farms are cooled by the water underneath. There is more space to place solar panels over the water. Some engineering companies are designing floating solar cities that make use of all types of sustainable development and renewable productions in floating structures over the water. If continents get drier and uninhabitable, people will have to move underground or live on solar cities placed on water. Researchers have been experimenting on farming with seawater, and some crops do well. Rainwater can still be collected over floating cities and solar farms to grow anything, and everything used is recycled inside anaerobic and biofiltration tanks. Part 2. Modular oceanic systems that are fully regenerative are being developed by engineers to create floating, sustainable cities. They have rooftop water collection, dehumidifiers, sea harvesters to collect and recycle all the water on site. Gray water is recycled for reuse on every module. Floating modular systems are powered by solar, wind and wave energy systems. They produce their own resources via on-site farming systems and aeroponics. Everything is recycled through a collection, composting, treatment, anaerobic digesting, algae filtration system. Modules stack up to grow into cities over time, with different varieties of coastal modules as in marina, drone pads, water play, market, athletics, food forests, greenhouses, bamboo groves and so forth. The materials used are light and renewable, like bamboo, timber to create charming, peaceful, aesthetic environment consist of many floating modules. From top to bottom, you have solar panels, electrical systems, aeroponics. At the bottom there is seaweed farms. This floating structure can be adapted to different climates in different regions. Farming is being merged with solar in many regions across the globe. Crops still grow well and generate good yields when solar panels are placed on top. Crops grown under the shade of solar panels don't require as much water because water doesn't evaporate, soil retains more water. Leaves grow larger as they try to capture as much sunlight as possible. Larger leafy food crops are harvested. Solar energy is transferred back to the grid or used for floating cities when it's placed over large areas of farmed land or on top of every floating module. Regenerative ocean cities will produce more resources than they need and create new habitats over the oceans, boosting ocean biodiversity. New reef structures are going to be made and dropped into many areas in the oceans because reefs are in danger. Many new reef structures must be manufactured and placed into the ocean to furnish habitats for marine life. Solar glass and walls can be used to manufacture stacked modules floating over the water. They can be productive habitats for people and other creatures to coexist and enhance the marine ecosystems. It's easier to power floating modules with renewable energy because they don't require as much as land buildings. They will harness the power of water for everything. Floating farms over the ocean can be autonomous with solar robotics and provide greater yields if they can use seawater for production and farming. Transparent solar panels will be everywhere one day. Glass has been used as clear insulation panel for a while. Clear solar panels can replace glass and generate so much energy for the grid, or the excess energy can be stored for later use. Transparent energy generation can be incorporated into clothing that people wear to generate energy from sunlight. body heat, movement, perspiration and so forth. Human body will be one of the greatest energy sources. All the emanations will be harvested as energy to power devices and stored in structural worn batteries. The human brain consumes the most energy in the human body. All the signals to operate the body and brain are transmitted through the nervous system. In the Solarpunk infrastructure, all buildings, modules, components, communities including people can generate so much energy to operate freely. This is the most self-sufficient configuration for people to live in harmony with nature. Polluting sources of energy, construction and manufacturing will rapidly deplete the world into a desert wasteland like Mars. Solarpunk aesthetics aim to envision and help create a sustainable, free and prosperous future for all of humanity. In contrast with cyberpunk, humanity has overcome its ecological challenges, has eliminated most of the social, economic inequity. Solarpunk envisions a truly green future brought about by the appropriate application of green technology, economic practice and production such as polycultures, high-density urban agriculture. Solarpunk is envisioned as a post-capitalist future with an emphasis on community and well-being as opposed to abstract notions like economic growth. The Venus Project, which a resource-based system of living, is one of the projects inspiring the Solarpunk concept. Solarpunk unifies people from all backgrounds, whether that be environmentalist, activist, futurist or others. Solarpunk focus on and advocate for things like DIY, grassroots organization, anarchism providing a great basis of theory. The concept of Solarpunk and its ideas can be very beneficial to environmentalists and other activist movements. The entire world will get to be more natural, organic, elegant and self-sustaining instead of being degraded at an increasing rate when Solarpunk framework is well established. Everything, especially the natural resources, have to be replenished that people have taken from the earth. Most people were farmers in the past, they built tools in cities after that. Technology is just a tool that people have invented over the course of time. This means people are still farmers, regardless of how much technology is embedded into their lives or how big of a city they live in. Solarpunk's urban and metropolitan areas will house many species in every category, forming a multi-species, thriving urban pattern that will grow and flourish each passing year. Architects have developed the concept of arcology, which combines architecture and ecology. Buildings are made of natural materials like clay, straw, compressed earth, adobe, etc. They can also integrate renewable energy and indoor farming to be self-sufficient and in tune with the surrounding ecology. This is how small cities can be constructed to be eco-villages where people live and work without harming the environment. Some engineers wanted to design floating habitats for people to live while the sea levels are rising. They're called the lily pad. Lily pads float on the water and can house thousands of people inside a self-sustaining structure. Floating cities and renewable energy technologies will be more common since sea levels will keep rising and there is more space on the oceans. Floating cities will have their own fauna and flora and will produce pretty much everything they need and recycle as well. The middle part has a central lagoon where it can collect and purify rainwater. The man-made lagoon is completely immersed, making the city's center, allowing for life in the subaquatic depth. The design is multifunctional, based on mountains and 3 marinas. Floating cities embrace workshops and entertainment, also can help refugees in vulnerable areas. There are many cities are being built to be climate positive, greener and cleaner. In a time when climate crises devastate most of the world, many new green cities must be built to make cities the places to address climate instability. In the event of rising sea levels, oceanic cities can provide a habitable offshore environment. The concept consists of buoyant islands clustered together in groups of 6 to from villages. This could help populations threatened by extreme weather and rising sea levels.